Hi guys, thank you for being here. So today we would like to talk about, a lot about finance basically. And I think it's been a very good introduction. The previous session, the Drift team did mention, that there was a transition between, centralized exchange to decentralized exchanges, right? And somehow it feels like everything is moving towards permissionless, right? And today, what we want to discuss is how we feel like TradFi is maybe on a path or in the direction of moving towards permissionless, right? So I'll let Mo kind of open up and tell you guys why we're here, right?
Yeah, it's a really good point, Alex. I think if you look at where DeFi is today, coming off the last panel, we are certainly seeing some interesting signs. $30 billion of TVL is impressive. But if you look at the entire financial system in the globe, whether you're sitting in UAE or in Hong Kong or parts of the US, if you count all the money that moves, all the economic value that moves across the globe in 1 year, it's not measured in billions. It's not measured in trillions. It's measured in quadrillion. And so, if you look at where money is today in financial ecosystems relative to where blockchains are, we are just at the starting point. I started my career off early at Consensus. I worked at places like BlackRock where we build financial systems. And I'm constantly reminded about the potential of this technology. And when Cindy was talking about congestion and the challenges that we still face within this ecosystem, there's no way that $1 quadrillion of value is going to move into DeFi or into blockchains. And so we started designing a very different kind of system at Facebook that eventually evolved into what is Aptos today. We designed for 3 billion people. We designed to be completely upgradable and scalable. And that network is out today. And we're starting to build some really cool financial primitives that I'm sure we'll get into.
Exactly, right. So we've been traveling for a while now, for the past month. I feel like a lot of the folks in this room have as well. There's been Hong Kong, there's been Japan, now everyone is in Dubai. And along the way, we've been talking to builders, projects, exchanges. We've been talking to local enterprise. We've been talking to regulators. And really, we sense a big shift. We're talking about, yes, this is a bull cycle, but also we feel like in our conversations with decision makers, among regulators and big enterprise and financial institutions, there is starting to be some sort of an appetite to consider something more than, hey, we're going to build everything on a permissioned private blockchain. Maybe we can start discussing about what is the future of finance.
That's right. I mean, it's been a long trip. I've been in Seoul, Hong Kong, London, Paris, today Dubai, and then we'll be in Riyadh and Singapore. And each one of the regulators that we speak with, all the financial institutions that we speak with, all the different components of the value chain understand that separate private permission networks, they all existed for the last century. They don't want another one. And you often hear that, hey, we need an L2, we need a private permission network. Well, what problems are you really solving? You're recreating the same problems that existed in the old world. The conversations that we've had is, how do you take a permissionless network and let money move freely with the same private components that you might need, the permissions that you might need, and even the security and compliance that you might need? And by doing that, you can enable a lot more money to come into these permissionless networks. Institutions might feel a lot more comfortable. Regulators might be able to provide a lot more clarity. In fact, might be able to provide a lot more safety and security along the way for their consumers that they're protecting. And so what we're building now is a much more advanced version of that permissionless network. It's designed, and I can probably talk about this, it's designed to give all of these assurances. If Alex is a bank, the bank of Alex, and he wants to send money here to Mo, who lives in Dubai, because he is stuck in the rain somewhere, how can I get that money as fast as possible? I can't go to my bank account because it's flooded. Well, I can get that money directly on the telco network that's working today. And it needs to move through the proper KYC components. It needs to be able to operate in the same speed that Visa and MasterCard networks operate in. And I need to be able to put it to work immediately. That means if I get 15% of that money is lost because of fees in other protocols, or imagine you try to send that money and the network is congested. I'll be walking in water, right? And so this is just not an acceptable environment today. We created a new network. Aptos is designed with all these permission features together. We announced it a little bit in a preview environment with a few parties in Hong Kong. But today, we're here to showcase Aptos Ascend. Aptos Ascend is built with a combination of partners that understand all of these challenges can be solved with blockchains, but only if those blockchains are designed for billions of people. Aptos Ascend is built with folks like South Korea Telco that help us custody assets. We're partnering with Brevin Howard on how assets and financial assets actually come on-chain. And we're working with partners like Microsoft on powering this infrastructure so it doesn't go down. And all these folks really understand the power of what a blockchain can do, and we're excited to unveil that today here on stage.
Exactly. And we are extremely excited about this. We've been working with the core team, with our engineering team in the Bay for the past 3, 4, 5 months on this. And we do really feel that Aptos has a right to win in this very specific vertical. And yes, we mentioned that we have a huge partnership, right, with the likes of Microsoft, Brevin Howard, SKT, BCG, to really flesh out and scope out new use cases to potentially bring on-chain more and more institutional capital to educate regulators a lot more so that we can really start the next wave of mass adoption. We've been talking about mass adoption a long time. So, Mo, what do you think we kind of are positioned to be a leader in the space and really help transition towards mass adoption, and when will mass adoption come?
Yeah, I think mass adoption comes when you have reliable infrastructure, first and foremost. To your point, we have over 25 PhDs on our team that are solving some of the most complex problems across things like consensus mechanisms, to smart contracts, to even how we think about upgrading storage on the protocol. All of these things are being put into implementation beyond just research, allowing us to have a network that's 24/7 available, that moves at the speed of the market. We don't have to wait for congested highways. And we've designed it in a way that it works with the market today. So if you look at existing protocols, they all want to be parallelized. Parallelization was actually invented by our team with things like Block STM. In fact, we're the first ones to have a parallelized blockchain in market today. And so if you look at something like other high-performing networks, they don't process transactions in parallel. In fact, if you're sending money to me, someone else over there needs to wait for that transaction to settle. And if too many people are sending money back and forth, that line gets really long. It's a one-lane bicycle highway. And we don't want to deal with New York City traffic. We don't want to deal with Dubai traffic. We want multi-lane highways that move in parallel. That is what Aptos is.
Exactly. Yep. And we talk to a lot of the banks, right? And they do say, listen, everyone says that TPS and throughput is extremely high. They always tell us, everyone says that they're extremely reliable. And then they say, yeah, but something shuts down. And then that's never going to get past our risk assessment profiles. Why do we have such a stronger product, in your opinion? And I really want to kind of elaborate on kind of the days that we had at Facebook, right? And so some of the things or cultural things that carried over. And so that we really showcase why Aptos is the most suitable blockchain for something like this.
Yep. So we talked about the performance of the network in terms of congestion and uptime. But I think what really matters is, imagine all of us in this room need to transact. If you think about all the transactions that take place in different disparate financial systems, you can add them up and tally them relative to where we are. Take Visa, for example. How many people have a sense of how many transactions Visa processes per second? Okay, nobody. One person. Okay, two people. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but they process in real time around 1,600 transactions per second. How many people are tweeting every second? Almost 2 times more. Close to 2,200 tweets per second. Add that up. Twitter and Visa alone are roughly 4,000 transactions per second. Aptos supports 30,000 transactions per second. We can easily support all of the financial transactions that exist in credit card networks, in payment networks, and on social networks concurrently. But we're not happy with that. We'll be pushing transaction throughput close to a whopping 1 million transactions per second in the coming 12 months. 1 million transactions per second. And there's a reason for that. We are not going to be living in an environment where we're just sending money back and forth. We're actually going to be trading AI agent data back and forth. And that data is arguably just as valuable as money. And in fact, it needs to be on chain because your agents need to be able to verify that. And so the transaction throughput for blockchains needs to consistently be increasing. And that's what we're doing here at Aptos. In order to do that, you have consensus mechanisms like Hot Stuff today. We'll be evolving that to something called Shoal. It'll be far more performant. And not only will you get more throughput, but we'll be able to reduce latency. Latency on our network, so if you wanted to send me money again, how long do I have to wait? Am I waiting 20 seconds? Am I waiting 5 minutes? Is that transaction filling altogether? On Aptos, that transaction settles in under 1 second. That's faster than Visa. Right? So we don't compare ourselves to other blockchains. We're comparing ourselves to the financial system that's out there today. And then the last thing, if you think about someone like Drift, right? They're building a new paradigm. Transaction fees go up when there's congestion on the network. Imagine you're driving on a highway and there's traffic, and someone says, hey, for you to drive on this highway, because there's traffic, you need to pay a bigger toll. What? That makes no sense. And so for us, a transaction on our protocol is a microcent. It's 0.0000006 APT. Free.
So we have a little bit of time left. And sometimes we do this more and more. We feel like some people do argue that, hey, at some point, maybe the tech is no longer the differentiator. Maybe the tech is already good enough in a lot of chains. And what use cases are you really going to unlock by making the chain even faster, by having time to validity even lower? In our ecosystem, in our DeFi ecosystem, we have perp dApps such as Merkle, right, that offer 100, 200x leverage. But they came to our team and our engineering team and said, hey guys, if you actually reduce that time to validity even lower and the time to latency even lower, we can do 1,000x leverage, right? So those are all very exciting DeFi products that we can unlock by continuing to improve our blockchain. But then I want to stay on this topic and kind of come back to the Ascend suite. What are the products that we have right now that we feel will help unlock the potential of institutions to come on chain, and what is next for us?
Yeah. It's an excellent point to talk about the inspiration that we see within decentralized financial products, whether they be perp dexes, whether they be new types of protocols like that are out there. The challenge, though, again, is how do you actually bring real forms of money and new financial products or existing financial products? Take the equities market here in the UAE or in the US. These are trillion-dollar markets, right? And so in order to bring them on board, you need to work with the large financial institutions. Some of this work has been made public, where we are already in conversations with the world's largest trillion-dollar asset managers on bringing things like money market funds on Aptos. And guess what? If you had a money market fund on Aptos, that could be made available today in the UAE. There aren't any money market funds available at scale here in this market. By making these products available on-chain, it allows for much more distribution. It also brings down a lot of the administrative costs for these asset managers to be able to extend these assets in new markets. And so someone who lives here now might be able to get access to US investment returns, high-grade products, at the click of a few buttons. You can't do that in the existing financial systems. Now that you have access to money market funds, this is a high-grade financial product. You can lever that. You can put it up as collateral for other financial products. And these aren't new sci-fi financial systems. These financial systems exist today. We're just not exposed to them. You don't need DeFi. Just go talk to Goldman Sachs or Citibank or some of these other folks that are running all of these trading desks. And so by bringing these products online, you're actually reducing the cost and increasing distribution. And in fact, we can potentially even grow the entire pie for blockchain and these digital assets. And this is something that Aptos Ascend is really excited about. And just to maybe close this point out, someone like Microsoft is going to help provide this infrastructure for us. Someone like Alan Howard and Brevin Howard's team is going to be working with us on helping think through a lot of these financial assets. Which ones should we start with? Which ones should be made available in different markets? Having a multi-billion-dollar asset manager with Aptos is a really compelling and powerful message for the market. And then, of course, how do you think about custody? Well, you could either download a wallet on your phone and go through all the different wallets that I'm sure many of you have, or you have one telco provider that you work with on your phone. We chose to work with someone like South Korea Telco, who's already building a Web3 wallet. Imagine Etisalat or Du or Saudi Telco had their own wallet available for digital assets. You would have money made available for you in the palm of your hands without having multiple wallets. Now you can take that money, convert it into any type of digital asset you want, whether that be a money market fund, whether that be local debt, government-backed debt, or that could even be equity and bond products or debt products within the broader capital markets within the region.
And I would like to add on that point, right? We're not saying that, or probably between us, maybe some people in this room might resonate with that. How are we going to onboard the next billion of users? We don't really expect every single person that right now is a Web2 person to understand how to download a wallet, create an account. Maybe the way to do that is to go through institutions and enterprise that already have access to this large group of people. And by replacing the existing legacy systems with blockchain, that's really how we inherently bring everyone on chain without them realizing. And maybe that is the way forward. And just to close it out, 30 seconds, some might say, you guys are talking about permission, you guys are talking about institution, KYC, but isn't that against decentralization? And maybe I think it's important for us to reiterate again that our thesis is very much permissionless, right? So this is what we see in the future, and it will be great for you to close on that, yeah.
Permissionless is one of the most important ethos of Web3. You should be able to own your own assets and do whatever you want with them. You should be able to take them with you free of borders, free of any particular ecosystem. And that's why you have these types of wallets structured in a way that they're fully available to you as a self-custodial wallet. And so user experience sits at the heart of this too. You can't have a painful user experience and expect people to be able to own their own assets. There's often a trade-off. The beauty of Aptos, though, is we're designed to have both of those things. So if you come and create a wallet account, I would urge all of you to take a look at Petra, download Petra, get some APT, play around with it, and have some fun. But what you'll see there is signing up is completely seamless. And going forward, you can have everything from Google, Facebook, and Twitter login, just like you do today. In fact, we enable things like passkeys, which make it even more secure. Same standard as your iPhone or your or your Android device. So when you log into Web3, you don't need your seed phrase. You don't need a very complex password. You just log in with identity that we're familiar with. And that's the way the Web2 world transitioned, or that's the way the world transitioned into Web2 to begin with, and that's how they're transitioning to Web3. Now, if you create your ID using your Google, your Gmail address or your Twitter, your X ID, you have a wallet that's created for you on the back end. And when you get money, when you get digital assets, when you get APT, when you get other financial instruments, you custody them by yourself. That's cool. And you can take them with you in a circumstance that you may not be able to access your bank. That doesn't mean you replace the bank, but now we can work closer with the bank and have the options that we need. And so now, for the first time, you're seeing permission components working together in the same way the internet works today. You don't need to go to your bank to log on to the internet. It's completely permissionless. Why do I need to do that for my own financial products? This is my private property. And so permissionless is absolutely the present, but certainly in this environment going to remain the future. And so Aptos is probably the best positioned blockchain to help facilitate that.
Great. And that is time. Cool. Thank you so much. And thank you guys.